Hello, everyone out there. My name is Kenny Berman, and I am the author of Psychedelic Shamanic Magic, a guide to the ritual application of sacred visionary plants. What I'm doing is I'm actually doing the chapters of the book in video form, most of them, that is. And I'm doing the implements. I've already started. I've done one video on focused visualized intention, which is the first chapter on implements in the book, or actually the second chapter of the book. So today I'm going to do the third chapter of the book, which is smoke magic. But let me just be a little clearer, and let's call it more specifically psychedelic smoke magic, because we're using it in conjunction with using a sacred visionary plant medicine. So smoke magic is the third chapter in my book and it's the second chapter on implementation. And all the implements, whether it be smoke, feathers, voice, color, sound, whatever they are always used in conjunction with focused visualized intention. Focused visualized intention, or our intention for using these sacred visionary plants, is the one implement which remains constant from the time of the collection onward till the end of the visionary plant ceremony. But during that process, from the beginning to the end, we are also using other implements when we find them applicable. And smoke is actually applicable from the time of the collection all the way till the end, but it's not used consistently, like constantly, that is, whereas our intention is maintained in our mind and in our heart throughout the whole process. Smoke is used periodically when we feel or deem it necessary. And smoke is a very invaluable tool to any psychedelic practitioner, any curandero, shaman, or person that is facilitating ceremonies or giving people any type of sacred visionary plant in a ritual context, that is. Again, we are using these plants with intention, and our intention is to cause some sort of a transformation, a healing, or some sort of a revealing of information that we could not get any other way but through using these plant medicines. So we use smoke as a protector and a purifier. And what it protects us and purifies us from is ethereal or unwanted energies that might be invasive in our aura, or in the space that we're doing a ceremony in, or clinging to something that we're using in the ceremony, whether it be the medicine or other implements that we may use. So we use it as a purifier and a protector, and it has an amazing quality. Smoke. The amazing quality that it has is that it has this semi-material form. Smoke, when you burn something, you can actually see it in a material sense. As it smokes, you can see the smoke in the air around you, and that's its material form. But as it dissipates, as the smoke starts to dissipate into the air, it actually becomes immaterial, and you can no longer see it. But you might still be able to smell it or sense its presence. And it's still acting at this point. It's actually acting in a rather strong way, or it might be actually more omnipotent when we can't see it, because it gets into the ethereal or the unseen world that is often seen under the influence of the visionary plants, but in normal states of consciousness is often hard to see, or it takes specific training in order to see into the ethereal. So because smoke has this semi-material form, it can dissipate and get into the energy field of different things, whether it be a plant, or it be a human, or if we're consecrating possibly an implement. And it gets into the field around that, and it penetrates through and affects the energy field. If anybody was ever to see an aura on a person by taking a photograph of the aura, you would see that it's like there's this energy field around us, and it actually has these threads, little threads that stand up. And when those threads are vibrant, they sort of stand up straight, and they're real strong. You can really see their strength. And an aura or an energy field that might be depleted, or might have some sort of energy, it might have ethereal waste caught in it, or there's unwanted energy in our energy field. Often that energy will get caught in these little hairs, and there's energy actually lingering in our auras. In order to get that energy or to cleanse it out, we use smoke, because smoke will penetrate in between all those fine auric hairs or auric threads, and it will cleanse the energy field. So it is a really amazing tool for working with any energy field on any item or any person or plant or being. So that's this is the power of smoke. So there are many different types of smoke and different applications sometimes for different types of smoke or smoke mediums. So I'm going to show you, I'm going to give you a little demonstration of the different types of smoke that can be applied. The most common of all the types of smoke, one that we've all seen and one that we can all get, are incense sticks. And incense sticks are available almost anywhere. You can get these in almost any country. Well, you can find incense sticks. They're used in a lot of religions and a lot of magical religious ceremonies, so they're available, and they're sold in markets and in stores. I don't find incense to be that useful or conducive for the purpose of psychedelic, shamanic, magical work. Reason is that it just really doesn't produce enough fumage or enough smoke. So it's not as applicable as some of the other smoke mediums that I'm about to show you. But I will use it sometimes. I often will use it in a ceremonial space because it produces a very nice fragrant smoke. And in a ceremonial space, if you place it in the corners of the room, it'll add to the atmosphere and help to cleanse the room of any unwanted energy. So it's a nice addition. I find it to be a nice addition, but it doesn't really work well for the other applications that I will explain. Another smoke medium is plants. People use different plants. And the sweetgrass is often used, cedar is often used, and sage, actually white sage specifically, which is Salvia apiana. And Salvia apiana, fresh, here's some fresh Salvia apiana. I live in the Mojave Desert, and in the high desert, and it grows native to around here. So I have a plant right outside my house, and this is an example of what it looks like when it's fresh. But what they do is they'll take the sage fresh and they wrap it and bind it together, and they create what's called a smudge stick. And many of you have probably seen smudge sticks like this. This one has been burnt, so the tip is burnt. And what a smudge stick will do is produce a nice fumage, or a nice amount of smoke comes off of a smudge stick. So I'm going to demonstrate. I'll show you how smudge stick. You just light them, and you build up a bit of a coal on the end of the smudge, and it'll start to smolder, and it produces a nice amount of smoke. And it's a very nice, beautiful, fragrant smoke. It's been said that if somebody doesn't like the smell of sage, that they have a lot of negative energy in them. So be wary of those that do not like the smell of white sage. And I'll tell you a little story, because I brought some white sage with me down to the Amazon in the I think it was 2001, when I had returned to go see the curandero I was working with in the 90s. And I brought it, actually I wanted to give him some because it's such a beautiful thing, and they don't have it down in South America. It's not that common. So I brought it, and I was using it in ceremony, and I wasn't sure if the curandero really liked it. So at some point during the ceremony, he said, "Light your cigarette." And I wasn't smoking at that time tobacco, so I wasn't using any tobacco. And they use a special tobacco, which I'm going to get into, and I'm going to speak about it. But just for now, to stay on the topic of sage, he says, "Light your cigarette." So I took a tobacco cigarette and I lit it. And he said, "Let me smell it." And when I gave him the tobacco to smell, he goes, "No, no, no, not that cigarette. The one that smells like perfume." And of course, he was referring to the white sage. So I was very happy that this curandero was appreciative of and admired the sage smudge. So that's Salvia apiana, and it's used by the Native Americans often in North America. They use sage often, but it's a very powerful, very cleansing smoke. And the other smoke that's used more often down in the Amazon, similar to sage, is Palo Santo. And Palo Santo is a wood that comes from a tree, Bursera graveolens. I may not be pronouncing that exactly correct because I've never heard a botanist pronounce the Latin name, but that's how I've read it, Bursera graveolens. And Palo Santo, this tree, Palo Santo tree, grows in an area, or it's native to an area called the Gran Choco, which is down by Paraguay, Argentine, Bolivia borders. And it's actually native all the way up into northern Mexico. But unfortunately, when I was researching it, I've come to find that it's on the endangered species list. Although it's placed in the category of least concerned, we should still be very mindful of this at this stage, especially considering its popularity and how so many people are so interested now in Palo Santo. If we keep using it and keep buying it, it is going to become depleted and it will become more endangered. So we really need to take this into consideration now. So Palo Santo is a really beautiful, fragrant smoke. When I smell it, it just has this Amazonian smell. And my friend who originally turned me on to Palo Santo, or introduced me to it, was actually in the high desert. It was on a trip coming back from Latin America, and I hadn't really seen it at that point yet. This was in the 90s. And my friend says, "Oh, I've got this wood from the jungle. You burn it like sage." And I was like, "Really?" And he lit it, and as soon as he lit it, the smell just brought me right back to the jungle. It just has this, I don't know what it is, but the smell just reminds me of the jungle. So it's really a powerful smoke. And we'll light that too. I'll show you just, because you have to create a coal on the end of it to get it to smolder to produce smoke. So you kind of set it on fire and then let it burn for a bit and then blow it out. And then it produces a nice fumage. It's a really nice amount of smoke that it will produce. So that's Palo Santo. Okay. And then the only other type of smoke, there's one other thing I need to explain, and that is pitch or resins. And pitch or resins are the globs of sap, basically, that drip out of trees, or sometimes you'll find them on the tree, big globs of resin. And they have a very fragrant smell of the tree that it's being collected from. So this here is I think a pinyon pine. Then we have, I'll bring it up closer to the camera. This is a frankincense, and these are copal. It's called copal. And copal is used a lot in Latin American culture, in different religious and also shamanic rites, and used similar to the Palo Santo. So it's common down there, the copal, this particular resin right here. And the way that we would use the resins in order to create a smoke is that you need some sort of a hot coal. You need to place a small bit of the pitch onto a hot coal, and then it will produce a fumage. And we don't want to use too much because it's very, very concentrated. And if you use too much, it will produce such a large amount of smoke that it actually becomes sickening and actually can be slightly asphyxiating if we use it in a small confined area like a room somewhere. So you want to be very frugal when you're using the pitch, because otherwise it just creates too much smoke. Outdoors it would be a little different, of course, especially if there's a breeze or something which will dissipate it or blow it around, and it won't be as thick, the smoke, if it's outdoors. But I'll also demonstrate here how it burns. There's different methods, but most people to burn pitch will use these charcoal discs. And you can buy these in incense shops. They're small little discs made of charcoal. and they have been treated with something that when you light the charcoal, which I'm not going to actually do right now, but if you light these little discs, what happens is they just start to sparkle, and after they finish sparkling, the whole disc becomes hot, and within 5 to 10 minutes, the whole disc is just a hot coal. And then you would take a small bit of pitch, not that much, less than that, but I'll just use this as an example, and you place it on top of the hot coal, and it just starts to smoke. And so I'm going to demonstrate that by not using a hot one of these coals. I'm going to take a coal out of my wood stove. I've got a fire going right now, and I'm going to remove an ember out of that, and then I'll place a little pitch on top of the ember, and you'll see how much it fumigates. Give me a second here. So, grab a little coal ember. So here I have a little bit of a hot ember that I pulled out of the fire. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that piece I showed you, I'm going to break it, and I'm just going to take a little piece off of it, and then that little piece I'm going to place on top of that hot coal. Let's see if I can get on there without burning myself. Okay, now just give it a second, and you'll see, look at that. Small little piece. It will continue to smoke. Give it a moment. No, come on. Whoa. All right, it didn't work so great, but it's going to. There you go. It's just going to begin. Still going. Still going. See, just a small bit will produce. That's just what that little bit produces. And all that smoke just coming off of that. Can you imagine if I put a big chunk on there? It would just be crazy, the amount of smoke that it produces. So that's just from that small little piece, and it's still going to go for a while. See, that's almost too much for my house. But there we are. Pitch. It works really well, and it smells beautiful. It really has a nice fragrant smoke. So that's the different smoke mediums, except for the one smoke, which I will speak about in just a bit. So those are the different types of smoke. So how are they applied, or when are they applied? They're applied from the very, very beginning when we are collecting the plants. We use a smudge stick often, or we use Palo Santo often, or we'll use tobacco often. But those are the smokes mostly used when we are collecting a plant. So say we are in the field and we are collecting ayahuasca vine, or we are collecting an admixture to ayahuasca, such as chacruna or Psychotria viridis, the plant that they use mostly in Peru as the admixture that contains the DMT. If we are collecting these plants, while we are collecting them, first of all, we have in our mind a focused, visualized intention as to what the purpose is for collecting them and what we are going to use them for. That is our focus, visualize intention. So we already have an intention, and we're projecting the intention into the plant when we're collecting it, but we are also smudging the plant. We're putting smoke around the energy field of the plant to cleanse, not to necessarily if there's a bunch of negative energy attached to it, but just to make sure that the energy field around it is pure and that there is nothing attached to its energy field. It is just pure. And it's pure except for, of course, our projection of our intention that we are putting into the plant prior to collection or during the collection. So we are projecting our intention into it, and we are smudging it. Sometimes we might use a feather, or we might use our voice in conjunction with the smoke, but we are using a smoke to cleanse the plant. Then we will prepare the medicine. So we need to prepare the medicine. We're doing that in a pot, say. Maybe if we're making ayahuasca, it can take up to 24 hours. The mushroom potions that I make might take an hour or two to prepare. During the preparational process, we are smoking the plant. Not smoking the plant. We are smoking the potion to cleanse the potion and make sure no energy, negative energy, influences the medicine in any way or attaches itself to the medicine. So we want to keep the medicine as we're cooking it pure. And we do this by smudging it, putting a smudge on the top of the of the pot of medicine as it's cooking. And as the steam is coming off, there's something, I don't know why, but when I smoke medicine, the steam and the smoke seem to intermingle, and the steam sort of captures the smoke and draws it into the top of the cooking pot. And you can see the smoke sort of lingers on the top of the medicine for a while, and this keeps it pure. So you're doing this periodically through the cooking process. It's not a constant, because obviously if we're cooking ayahuasca for, say, 24 hours, you're not standing over the medicine for 24 hours, smudging it constantly. Periodically, maybe 3 or 4 times during the cooking process, we smudge the medicine, and we are always putting our intention into the medicine, but when we smudge it, we are really projecting what our intention is while we are cleansing the medicine of any, or keeping it pure using the smoke. So it is used in the collection, then it is used in the preparation of the medicine, and then it would next be used in the preparation of the space that we are going to use for the ceremonial process. So we do a space cleaning, and I have a chapter in the book on space cleaning, and when I do that chapter in video form, I will explain a lot more about the methodologies and how to cleanse a space. But since I am only on smoke, up to smoke right now, I'll talk a little bit about how smoke is used in that way. We might walk around a room with a smudge stick, and go around the whole room, all the space in the room. We might do a spiral and come all the way into the center. We might do a clockwise movement around the room to invoke and invoke positive energy, and also cleanse the space of any unwanted ethereal energy. We want a very pure space to use when we are doing a ceremony, a sacred visionary plant ceremony. We don't want any energy to be invasive in that space during the ceremony. So we want to cleanse the whole space, and smoke works really well for this. The next time we might use smoke would be prior to the ceremony, when we cleanse our bodies of any unwanted energy. We do what some people would call a smudge of the body. And a smudge of the body could be used, you could use sage for sure, and traditionally a smudge of the body in North America sage is used. But you can use other smokes to cleanse the body. And what this does is the aura, or the auric field, again, it gets into all those threads of the aura, which stick out, like these sharp threads, and the smoke penetrates into those threads and gets into all those nooks and crannies and cleanses it. So this is the method of cleansing the body. We're using a smoke to do that. And sometimes tobacco, again, is used in this, which I'll speak a little bit about that in a moment. But we do the preparation of the space, and we do the preparation of the body, and then we do then during the actual ceremonial process, when we're consuming the medicine, the smoke is used constantly through the process. Not constantly, like, again, all the time. We are using it periodically when we deem it's necessary, but it is used very often in ceremonial process of consuming the medicine. And it's used at the beginning of the ceremony. We'll use it to cleanse the medicine prior to consuming it. So when we are given our vessel or our cup that has the medicine in it, before we actually consume the medicine, we will cleanse it, or we will put a smudge on top of it, or we might blow tobacco smoke onto it. Whatever it is, we are cleansing the medicine and putting our intention into it, and then prior to consuming it. All this time, with the focus, visualize, intention, and the different implements that are used, from the collection of the plants to the preparation of the plants through the ceremonial space cleaning, onward to our body cleansing, and onward through the ceremony. As we are using the smoke with our intention, it's building up a charge. And this charge is getting more and more powerful, which hopefully will be conducive to the final result in the ceremony, which is, again, some sort of a transformation, a healing, or some sort of revealing of information which could not be obtained without the use of the medicine. So this is how smoke is used in the ceremony. And that's how smoke is used in psychedelic ceremony. And there's one smoke, again, that I have yet to mention, or I've mentioned it, but I have yet to explain, and that is tobacco. And in the Amazon, they use a special tobacco. That tobacco is called mapacho. And mapacho is a native tobacco to the Amazon, and it comes in these big long cylinder logs, and they're wrapped with like a reed. And each log of mapacho weighs 1 kilo. It's a bunch of leaves all wrapped up, really bound tightly. And that's how it's bought, and in these big long cylinders. And then they cut the cylinders into discs, actually. And then those discs are shredded, the tobacco is shredded. And then they roll it into cigarettes, which they sell in the market. These are mapacho cigarettes, and they're very thick. I'll come up a little closer to the camera and you can see. This is a mapacho cigarette. It's a very thick cigarette. It's rolled with kind of a rough rolling paper. They don't have the greatest rolling papers down in the Amazon, but the tobacco inside is very pure. There's no additives, and it's a very dark, rich, strong tobacco. It is never used by the curanderos for recreation or for just leisure. It's not used like that. It is a medicine, and they consider it a very powerful medicine, never to be used outside of ceremony in any way. Although there may be daily ritual where people use tobacco daily, maybe once a day for a ceremony, but it is not smoked throughout the day as for purposes of pleasure. So it's never used for pleasure, and that's considered a big no-no by the curanderos in the Amazon. So its Latin name is, I think, Nicotiana rustica, and I may again be mispronouncing the Latin name, but it's spelled something like that, Nicotiana rustica, and that's the type of tobacco it is. And it's a very strong tobacco, and like I said, it's considered a very powerful medicine, almost as powerful as ayahuasca. In Jeremy Narby's book, a book written many years ago called The Cosmic Serpent, he says that the mother of tobacco is a snake. The mother of tobacco is a snake. Well, what is the mother of tobacco? The mother of tobacco is ayahuasca. In the jungles of South America, ayahuasca is considered the mother plant. She is considered the mother of all the other plants. So ayahuasca is the mother of tobacco because she is the mother of all the other plants. But the mother of tobacco, according to Jeremy Narby, is a snake. If you want to know more about that, read The Cosmic Serpent. It's an awesome book. So anyway, mapacho, because of its ability to be inhaled, makes it different than all the other smoke mediums. It makes it actually much more powerful because the ability to bring a smoke into our bodies gives us the ability to charge that smoke with our intention, or with the purpose, or what our focus visualized intention is for the ceremony. So the curandero or the shaman or the practitioner will inhale the tobacco smoke, and then they have methods for blowing it on to the subject in the ceremony. And when they blow it onto the subject, they are doing this, blowing it into their energy field, but now it is charged with the curandero or the practitioner's intention. And this makes it a very powerful tool. The curandero I worked with, he had methods for blowing it onto the body, and ways of blowing it onto the head, ways of blowing it into the chest area, ways of blowing it into the lower torso, ways of spreading it on the back of the person. And all these methods I have in my book, but I don't have a subject now, so I can't demonstrate that. But in my book, I actually have photos that demonstrate how it is used, and I have specific techniques and instructions on how to use it. So mapacho is blown onto the body in these different ways to cleanse it during the ceremonial process. It's a very, very powerful medicine. Sometimes an implement could be used to blow the smoke on, or to be more specific with the jet of smoke that's coming out of us. Or there might be methods like puckering one's lips and blowing a stream of smoke out, to be more specific. If we were going to say blow the smoke into a specific chakra or energy center on the body, we might use a different way of blowing. Instead of just blowing it out, we might form a jet. I've created tools for doing that, and this is a small shamanic tool, and that has a hole in it that we can blow through, and it will create a jet of smoke that comes out, and it can be used for blowing the smoke more into specific areas of the body. But that's pretty much it when it comes to smoke and how smoke is applied in ceremony. Or how it's applied with the use of sacred visionary plant medicines for ceremonial purposes. Again, used at the collection of the plants to purify the plants, used during the preparation of the medicine to keep the medicine pure as we're cooking it and to keep our intentions pure, used in the preparation of the space that we are going to consume the medicine in, and used in the preparation of our bodies prior to the use of the medicine, and then used during the whole ceremonial process. So that's it about smoke. Again, always with focus, visualize, intention. And later I'm going to speak in the next video I do, that will be on feathers. And as I continue with these videos, you will see how all the implements can be used often in conjunction with one another. Not all at the same time. Obviously, we're not going to be rattling and feathering and smoking all at the same time. But sometimes we are smoking and rattling. Sometimes we are smoking and using feathers. Sometimes, we mix the different implements together at any stage during the ceremony when we feel it's necessary or when we are called to use those medicines. So that's all for smoke today. Thank you very much for watching this. If you've watched the whole thing through, I appreciate that. And we'll see you next time with feathers. That's going to be the next video. I appreciate your attention.